Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is JoJo. On this channel we cover seasonal anime week by week, and today we're here to talk all about Hamefura, or My Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, Episode 1. But before we get into the video proper, I do want to let you all know that if you would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Hamefura video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Now then, with that said, we're gonna get right into it. So episode 1 of Hamefura, it's finally here. I got my notes, I got my tea, I'm ready to go. I have been so looking forward to this show. I remember seeing like the PVs and like the posters leading up to the release of the show, and I just loved the idea. If you don't know, your boy's a big Fidanchi, and I'm just really into all like the Otome game, and like, I don't know, that's my thing. I don't necessarily want to romance anybody though. I'm more of just I'm like the kiss him not me protagonist, where I'm like, no, like I just kind of want to ship other people. You know what I mean? So that's more my speed, but the Otome game thing, I can sympathize. I play myself a fair amount of Otome games. And the idea of an Isekai set in an Otome game is brilliant. Now, I have been told that there are like other Isekai properties, that like other light novels that are also based on like in an Otome game type setting. That'd be cool. I hope we get more of them. But what really intrigued me is just the idea that it's the first Otome Isekai that I've seen, because I don't really read light novels, nor do I really much care for manga. I'm an anime guy. So this is the first time I am seeing an Otome game turned Isekai, and it's brilliant. It's everything that, like, because here's the thing, right? They could have just done, like, if they wanted to, they could have just done like a reverse harem or whatever. They could have done that. They could have like made an amnesia memories type show if they felt like it. I don't know why they would do that, because Amnesia Memories, the anime, ain't as good as the game. But you know, we're not here to talk about other Otome games right now. But what I'll say is, like, they could have easily done that. The idea of having a protagonist who is not only aware of how Otome games function and all the tropes, but is also like playing the role of the villainess and has to avoid the doom that will likely come to her for being the villainess in a game. It's absolutely perfect. I thought it was so funny too, like the setup, the way everything looks as well. The background art, right? The art actually feels like it's background art from an Otome game, where it's detailed enough to give you a basic idea of what's going on without having to feel the need to be overly complex in its background art. It's like you get that in scenes specifically, since like the whole first episode takes place on Katarina's home. The whole thing feels totally appropriate. Like the art, the character designs, everything feels authentic to that Otome game style, and I love it. I was really concerned though, because I thought what we were gonna have is like a situation where she's constantly trying to change the routes, constantly trying to change the way that these characters interact with her as the villainess, and it would constantly end in failure. And I was like, okay, that would be like a one-trick joke. I can see it working here and there, but if it was the entire show, I would be a little bit let down. But I like the idea that we see by the end of the episode, where it seems as though the human, I guess, like the character from our world inhabiting the body of Katarina, who from now on I'm just going to call Katarina for the sake of brevity, but Katarina being able to actually change her fate and get Keith to open the door. She tries knocking. She does the whole "Do you want to build a snowman?" scene, and then she says, "Screw that! I'm not doing a whole song and dance. I'm just getting a battle axe and chopping the bitch down." That was awesome. I loved it. Katarina as the protagonist is perfection. I love this girl. She's already I'm like, yes, she's one of us. You know, she's just trying to make it through this crazy Otome game called life, and it's fantastic. I love the idea that she's actually able to change Keith from being this character who felt bullied and ignored by Katarina and the rest of the Claes family. Is it Claes or Claes? Let me check my notes. Claes. Claes, Claes, Katarina Claes, I believe it's Claes. So basically changing Keith from feeling ostracized by his adoptive family into actually feeling like he is her adoptive brother. Genius. I love that idea. I have a feeling it's still going to come down, like once he sees the protagonist, it's still going to be like love at first sight, and she's going to have to work to not only keep the protagonist away from the others, but hopefully avoid like dooming herself to a whole new doom route. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be interesting to watch this play out. And the thing too, the thing that I really have to emphasize about the show is when I was getting hyped up for it, I would do streams and stuff on my Twitch page, and we would talk about upcoming spring anime, and that's where I did my whole like what I'll be watching. And when I did my what I'll be watching stream, I couldn't help but notice in the PV that there was a surprising amount of girl characters, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, are they like love rivals? Apparently not. So I don't know if this is true, but if it is, blessings upon you. But from what I gather, this is a bi harem. Please let this be a bi harem. Please let this be a bi harem. That got me excited. This is not just an isekai. This is a bisekai. And I'm all about it if that's the case. Because I was like, hell yes. I like immediately, even from the OP, I got the bisekai, bi harem vibes. And my bi romantic self all about it. So I hope that's the case. I'm so excited. That's half the reason why I'm excited. Half the reason I'm excited isn't just the Otome game stuff. It's the bow representation. So I'm hoping that's the case. We'll have to wait and see. But even if it's not, you know I'm going to ship them all like FedEx anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. However, I would be remiss to end today's video without doing that thing that I love doing in these videos. I swear I wasn't always this way. But lately, I've been all about, you guessed it, colors. That's right, it's color time. Time to analyze some character designs. Now, before we begin, I want to stress that I am not analyzing the character designs in the future, since this episode takes place entirely in Katarina's past, right? So we are looking at the story from when Katarina bumps her head onward. So I'm analyzing the character designs as they were kids. We will then look at the character designs as they change when they go to the magic school. So we will look at the character designs again. I want to talk about what they were trying to tell us with the character designs as we see them currently. And I do feel like there's actually a fair amount to talk about, from Katarina to Gerald to Keith. I feel like all three characters actually do have a little bit of hidden gems, either in the color choice or just in the outfits themselves, that the character designers are trying to tell us. So of course, a big shout out to character designer Miwa Ishima for translating the original character designs into anime, as well as the color designer Eri Shigetomi, whose name I am positive I butchered. They also did the color design for Tanaka. Tanaka is Always Listless, which is one of my favorite shows, and the color in Tanaka is perfection. So I trust any project with Shigetomi on it because the colors in Tanaka are fantastic. So speaking of color, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the color design and the color within said color design. And we're going to start with Katarina because she is decked out in blue. For some reason, every character in every show that I've done like the color theory stuff with, there's always one character who's just decked out in nothing but blue. Katarina, to reference another video of mine, Katarina is so blue, her favorite band must be Eiffel 65 because she is that blue. Her dress is a dark blue, almost like a navy blue, whereas the ribbon that they actually put a little bit of emphasis on is a sky blue, and I find that interesting. I bring up the ribbon in particular because the Katarina specifically, like, it's meant to show that Katarina's a brat, that she'll pick out something and then pretend like she didn't pick it because she doesn't like it. Well, she likes it 1 second and then doesn't like it the next second. At least Katarina before we know her as like the MC, like the original Katarina within like the Otome game. It's meant to show that this character is supposed to be a brat. But at the same time, I feel like the specific choice of singling out a sky blue ribbon is important, as sky blue is meant to show a sort of healing, a softness, and an understanding. And that is not really meant to represent Katarina as we know her as much as as the game knows her, as much as the Katarina as we know her, the isekai character, who does seem to want to be, she's trying to not only heal the bump on her head, but also trying to get a better understanding of the situation she's in, and is going to try to change her fate by being a soft and sort of welcoming and tranquil character, as opposed to the bombastic, angry Katarina that the game is supposed to portray her as. I think that's really great. The blue dress highlights confidence. It also is, to me, meant to sort of invoke a sort of blue blood idea. Like, she's so blue, and like she's like, you could tell like by the design of her dress and the specific shade of blue, meant to show that this character is of a higher class, a royal-ish type of person. Not that I'm saying she's royalty, I'm just saying like she's high class, and that's sort of the vibe that you get from the blue dress. I feel like the dress itself is meant to represent Katarina in-game, whereas the sky blue ribbon meant to represent RMC. But that's enough about Katarina, because Gerald's outfit equally says a lot about him. I think actually Gerald's outfit might be the easiest for me to kind of dissect, and is probably the one that says the most about the character. Gerald's outfit is fancy. Like, my boy even rocking an ascot and everything. Like, he's got like the fancy as hell outfit. He probably has the best looking outfit in the episode, which is hilarious because this kid's like 8. So at least we know that immediately this boy has a keen fashion sense, or at least whoever picked out the outfit for him. He's rocking a white suit, and I find the white suit in particular to be very like key, because it's showing that he's meant to have this sort of really cleanly and quote unquote pure attitude, right? He's supposed to be clean and prim and proper. And we really get that sense when we see Katarina later, like, tilling soil, right? And she's, like, all covered in, like, mud and stuff like that. And he sees her, and he's rocking this, like, clean white blazer. That's really meant to show the difference between the two, that he would never think to do that. However, I do put pure, when I wrote it down, I wrote pure attitude in air quotes, because as Katarina points out, this dude is kind of shady. And you do get that sense because it's not just a white blazer, it also has little highlights of green, specifically lime green. And lime green is an interesting color because it can mean a lot of things, but I think here it's meant to specifically represent a sort of underlying bitterness. You know, like, he's not really interested in Katarina all that much. Like, he's kind of in it for himself. He seems like he's going to be really bitter, since we know that he's supposed to be sort of like a mischievous character. I think the lime green is meant to indicate a sort of underlying bitterness to this character that we'll likely see by the time we get to the Magic High School. As for the faint yellow highlights in the suit as well, I'm not sure what the yellow could necessarily highlight. My best guess is to give you a sense of caution. Like, this character is not quite what they seem. Be a little bit cautious, be a little bit standoffish. This character might be up to something shady, or maybe they're a sweetheart. I have no idea. I'm just going off the character design. I could be talking out my ass. I probably am. But speaking of talking out my ass, let's go ahead and talk about Keith's character design. Now, Keith's design is noticeably more plain than Katarina's is. And I feel like this is meant to show that he's of a sort of lower standing than Katarina. Katarina gets this big fancy dress. We see Gerald's decked out in this cool looking blazer. And Keith is just sort of in a plain basic shirt. He has suspenders. He doesn't really get a blazer. He doesn't get anything fancy. So I feel like that's meant to show his sort of lower class in this group that he finds himself in. But I feel like the big highlight you can kind of pinpoint and latch onto is the pink bow tie. Pink being a sort of like timid and emotional color, I feel like that very easily represents Keith. Keith as a character here, we know that he later grows into being like a sort of ladies' man, which I find kind of interesting. But the Keith that we know, you can, like, pink is a perfect color. It's a timid color, but it can be like a very emotionally tough color. And I feel like that's sort of where Keith is going to end up going. At least that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. He's a very like empathic character, and the pink bow tie is a perfect representation of that. But with that said, everybody, I'm going to wrap up today's video here. I'm not going to continue to talk your ear off about the otome game Isekai, aka Hamefura, even though I very easily could. I'm so excited to continue this show. This is one of my favorites of the season. I can already tell. So excited to find out what happens next. And that's gonna do it for today's video, everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then by all means hitting that like button and leaving a comment down below is a great way to help out this channel, as it pleases the almighty YouTube algorithm. So if you choose to do so, kudos to you. And if you're feeling extra supportive today, you can go ahead and check out all the links in the description. One goes to my Twitter, another one is to our Discord server, another one to our merch store if you feel like grabbing yourself a mug, and of course, our Patreon page. And speaking of the Patreon page, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you in the T Squadron who support this channel month to month. Let's go ahead and do the Earl Grey shoutouts. Izevi, Andrew W, Branson C, Calvin A, Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G, Digger the Fox, Dominic G, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria T, Marshall B, Mater, Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G, Sakochi, The Suavest Orange, Tristan G, and Veridon. Thanks so much for your continued support over on Patreon, everybody, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. That is a huge way to support the channel. And again, be sure to check out the other stuff in the Discord as well. Go join our Discord. It is now public. You can all join. Everybody can hop in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter if you want me to ramble at you even more. And until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and wash your dang hands.